Hello Internet, my name is Anthony Wilson. Welcome back to Magic Talk. Today we're going to be looking at the top two decks from the 2010 TCGplayer Wizard World Series in New York City. A lot of really good decks there, and a lot of interesting things popped up. A lot of new cards showing their faces, and a lot of old cards come back to haunt us again. So we're going to take a look at the first and second place decks, starting with number 2. Eldrazi Green. Now, this deck looks really good. We got cards like Drago Treespeaker, which has been called the Mono Green Soul Ring, which I agree with. It's really good. But other ramp stuff like Overgrown Battlement, Cultivate, Explore, Growth Spasm to ramp into heavy hitting spells like Summoning Trap or Primeval Titan, Wormcoil Engine, stuff like that. And then you Summoning Trap to help get you your Primeval Titans and your Ulamog and Kozilek and Emrakul into play there. So this is kind of what the main deck looks like right here. Very solid. A lot of strategy, a lot of tech in the mana base is where a lot of stuff is going on here too. 4 Eldrazi Temples and Eye of Ugins to kind of help you cast these guys, the big Eldrazi dudes, if you ever need to. And easily searched out with Primeval Titan, so that's always good there. Mystifying Maze to help get rid of them big dudes attacking you, like other Wormcoil Engines and whatnot. And 4 Tectonic Edges in this deck, because if you have to sack Tectonic Edge to mess with your opponent's mana base, it's no big deal to you, because you've got so many lands in play. So Tectonic Edge seems really good in this deck as well. And the little synergies here, like using Eye of Ugin, you can pay the 7, you could actually, instead of just searching for the big Eldrazi dudes, you could search for Wormcoil Engine, which is really good, in my opinion. Wormcoil Engine's a great card, and I'm glad it's starting to see some play outside of just the control decks. It's starting to see play in these kind of decks as well, which is really awesome. It's a really great card. As far as the main deck goes, it looks really good. I don't know about Kozilek the Butcher. I think if I had to change something in this deck, it would be Kozilek. He seems, yeah, I know it's weird. He's a 12/12 with Annihilator 4. Okay, but that's it. And when you come right down to it, you don't really get his Draw 4 ability because you're not really casting him most of the time. You're Summoning Trap him into play. So compared to like Ulamog, who you don't get his ability because you're not casting him, but he's still indestructible. So. And Emrakul, obviously, he's a 15/15 flyer with Annihilator 6 and can't be the target of colored spells. So, of all the big 3 in this deck, Kozilek seems a little underwhelming, but still a really good card there. Taking a look at the sideboard, I can imagine this deck having trouble with stuff like Mono Red, so destroying their Drago Treespeakers and their Overgrown Battlements and stuff. So. It looks like here in the sideboard is running 3 Obstinate Baloths and 2 Pelakka Worms to help gain some of that life back and kind of block the attacks from your opponents a little bit, So that's probably why these are there, to gain some life. Terracodon being a great way to deal with little problems, maybe your opponent's man lands. You can mess with their lands a little bit, or you can destroy their planeswalkers and all kinds of stuff like that. So Terracodon seems like a really good card there. Looks like he put his 4th Wormcoil Engine in the sideboard. Nature's Claim, help get rid of some artifacts or enchantments that might be getting in your way. All His Dust seems really good in the sideboard too, not running Wrath of God. Instead replacing it with All His Dust, which you can easily cast for 7 mana, no problem. And still leaves behind stuff like your Overflowing Chalice and your Wormcoil Engines and all your Eldrazi dudes. So seems like a really good removal spell there. And got his 2nd Eye of Ugin in the sideboard. I guess in case people come across a deck that people are destroying the Eye of Ugin, it's really good to have that extra one in the sideboard. Probably came in really handy. So this is what his main deck looks like. As far as beating it, I can't really come up with much. Me and a couple friends came up with 2 cards that we can think of to help you beat this kind of a deck. One is Tunnel Ignis. Keep multiple lands from coming into play at once with Cultivate and Explore and Growth Spasm, which are all sorceries. So you had to have, maybe he played a land and then try to play Explore, or played a land and play Cultivate, or a land and then Growth Spasm to get those lands into play. It helps, deals a little extra damage to them, along with Primeval Titan, who could deal up to 6 damage. A Tunnel Ignis can do 6 damage if they activated Primeval Titan. So that's an idea Not sure how good the idea is, but it's an idea. Also, Leonin Arbiter, which I think is really good, because then it stops your opponent from being able to search so early. Then they have to pay 2 to search their library. So imagine Cultivate now costs 5, Explore. Well, Explore doesn't really work there, but how about Growspasm now costs 5? You want to search with Primeval Titan now, it's going to cost 2 extra every time you attack. Little stuff like that. So, Leonin Arbiter is definitely a card to consider when you're playing against this deck. It doesn't look like they have a lot of ways to get rid of it, so keep that in mind if you're going to be building this deck. So again, this took second place. So what we're going to look at next is the deck that took first place, running everybody's favorite Planeswalker right now, Koth of the Hammer. This guy's, no pun intended, this card is hot. Like, you cannot get a hold of this guy anywhere. Not that I can think of. Like, I can't find this card anywhere. So, it's this Valakut Ramp is what we're looking at here. It took first place in the same event. It beat the Eldrazi Ramp deck. This is also a Ramp deck, but slightly different strategies here. Yes, still trying to get into the Summoning Trap, but trying to put lots of lands into play instead, using Horror, Cultivate, Colony Heart Expedition to get all this stuff out, and then get your Valakuts into play, using Primeval Titan and all your mountains, and activating Valakut, or activating Koth's final ability and killing your opponent with the mountains. Also playing cards like Avenger of Zendikar, which is really good in this style of deck, get you a whole bunch of dudes and start attacking with them. Oracle of Moldiah is also a great card in this style of deck, trying to play as many lands as possible, allowing you to play the additional land. And it looks like a Lightning Bolt, just for a little bit of removal, helps kill those Draga Tree Speakers and whatnot. So, a really solid main deck here, it looks like, and pretty straightforward. There's not much really to it, but that's what that looks like. Go over here to the sideboard real quick. Looks like decided to run 1 Ulamog, which I think is a good idea, the ability to Vindicate when he comes into play and destroy a permanent, and then he's also indestructible, and you can, when he swings, you Annihilate 4, so really good there. It looks like to help deal with some of the aggro decks in mono red and whatnot, he's running Fog instead, which I think is a great idea, because it's not something they see coming as quick. If you play Obstinate Bela, it just kind of happens, and then they can adjust their strategy. If they Alpha Strike and you Fog, well, they're kind of screwed there. Looks like 4 Naturalizes here to destroy some artifacts and enchantments getting in the way. So it's a good idea there. Again, with all his dust, it's a great alternative to Wrath of God if you're not running white. He can all his dust after he's activated Koth's final ability and keep the board clear and still do all the damage with his mountains and Valakuts. It seems really good there. Also, if he's got it keeps the Ulamog around later on. So this is the deck that took first place. Both of these decks, you can pretty much guarantee to be running into these at some point in states, especially on the higher up tables, if you're doing really well. And the same cards apply here to try to beat this deck. Tunnel Ignis and Leonin Arbiter are the best that I can come up with. If you guys can come up with something better, let me know down in the comments below or in a video response or something, and let us know what you have come up with to beat this deck, or if you have a deck that can consistently beat these two decks, because they are really good. If you guys need to take a closer look at these decks, I will be posting a link to these pages in the comments or in the descriptions down below, so you can take a look at it and give us your input and let everyone know what you guys think. Maybe you've seen something that I've missed. I do miss a lot of things, so it's good to have other input from other people. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll hope to see you next time. Take care.